Hi, it's Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching, and welcome to another episode for the Coaching Conversations podcast. Now, we are on Stitcher, we are on iTunes, and multiple different channels. Please check us out. Now, one of the things that you'll get out of our podcast episodes is a lot of content, a lot of strategy. It's not fluff, it's not concept, yet we really want you to engage with the content and let us know your feedback. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If there's topics you'd love to have us address, we would love to share them with you. Let us know your impact and let us know your feedback. When we hear about all the topics with coaching and training, and we're hearing the term artificial intelligence now more than ever, I often go back to the fundamentals of coaching, and that is to first cultivate self-awareness, getting someone to look in the mirror. Number one, how do we get someone to cultivate self-awareness? And more importantly, what is it? It's about looking in the mirror and really being honest. Now, I've cited this research 1,000 times. I'll do it again. Tasha Eurich, in her book Insight, New York Times bestseller, did a research project, surveyed people, and 95% of the people said, yes, I'm highly self-aware. When she tested them, only 10% were. That means 85% of us have blind spots. We all do. And here's the funny thing. When you go up to someone and say you have a negative attitude or you give them feedback, what happens? Do people open their arms and say thanks? Or do they start the discounting process? Not me. It's got to be someone else you need to talk to. And that's usually the case. And research bears that out. So how do we cultivate self-awareness? Number one, focus on the good things people do. Gallup reports, and I love this, that when we lead with people's strengths, people engage 8 times more. Think about that, 8 times more. So when we engage 8 times more, we listen more. We have greater trust to the people coaching, leading, mentoring us. Number two, you have to ask questions. Going up to someone and saying, you have a really crappy attitude, even though you might be right. Has anyone ever responded with, wow, I knew I had issues. Thanks a lot. I was wondering what the problem was. No, they'll discount what you say. People don't like to be told what to do, whether right or wrong. If our objective is to cultivate self-awareness, use questions such as, what are you going to do to successfully engage with your teammates positively? And what's the value to you? Now, that might be another question that you could utilize to address someone's negative attitude. See, when you ask questions, the brain is stimulated to think differently. So if I go up to someone and say, you got any big plans this weekend? Most people say, nope, just staying around the house. Now, if I say, what are 2 specific things you're going to do that's going to be a lot of fun this weekend, that stimulates the brain to think differently. So the key is to ask questions starting with the word what, insert the word successfully, then address the area that you're coaching. So let's say we have somebody who's not pulling their weight. Instead of saying you're not pulling your weight, we tend to always do this with leadership. We tend to tell people what they're not doing. What you want to do is use a technique called framing. We call it a self-actualized question. So I might say, what are you going to do next week to successfully insert yourself by going above and beyond the call of duty that your teammates will just love? And what do you think the value to you is? Now, that question is framed out in a way that really can't be negative. And once people answer positively, they move towards this thing called commitment, actual action. So again, the first thing is start with people's strengths, then ask questions that are framed. Starting with the word what, I insert the word successfully, and then I address the area of need. That's how you cultivate self-awareness. Thank you for listening to another episode of Coaching Conversations by Tim Hagen and Progress Coaching. Now, our company is always coming out with new and innovative solutions to help leaders coach their employees. And recently, we just created a new service called Coach to You, where leaders can pick and choose topics and assign 7 to 21-day programs for employees to learn and, more importantly, apply actions and then reflect and share what they're going to do going forward as a result of the learning. It's called Coach to You. We're literally bringing coaching to your employees. If you're intrigued, we'll have a link in each one of our episodes where you can get more information. And again, thank you so much for listening to another episode.